stage. DK Metcalf has just been vocal on the sideline. He's been a malcontent the last few games. I mean, that happens when you're losing 3 in a row and you feel like you're not getting the ball and you're the playmaker. You should be the guy that gets the ball. But, I mean, what do? Learn a few more routes in your route tree and figure it out. Don't just call your quarterback out. I'm not saying he did that, but he's in so many words, that's kind of what he's doing. And just saying that he's not getting the ball. Figure it out. Keep that in-house. Don't cause any more distractions. But I don't see them. I think Atlanta's finding their stride. They didn't play in the preseason. Their starters didn't play. Their first few games seemed like more of a preseason, but now they're starting to figure it out. They're looking really good, and they're probably the top between them and Tampa in NFC South. I don't see them stop at home. I don't see them stopping any further than what they were in the beginning of the season. I think they're going to keep their stride going forward, and they're going to beat Seattle.
You mentioned with DK Metcalf complaining about Geno Smith a bit. Is there any talk at all in Seattle about maybe sitting Geno Smith for Sam Howell? I wouldn't like to move myself, but is there any talk going on about that?
I'll be honest with you, I hadn't heard anything like that, but I just don't see. I don't know. I would keep Geno Smith in. I don't think that neither one's better. I think Geno's slightly better than the other.
Yeah, Geno Smith's the starting quarterback. They're still in first place. They're not going to sit him down. Biggest problem with DK Metcalf has been, since he's been in the league, he's not a great route runner. He's really not. He's a big guy. He doesn't run the tree like other receivers do. He uses his body. He's got some good speed. And that's a big problem with DK Metcalf. It always has been. Not that he's not a great wide receiver. He is. But he doesn't run the route tree. He just kind of runs a lazy pattern, they call it. He doesn't cut off his pattern and go straight. He kind of rounds it off. He kind of gets in position like a basketball player and makes some great catches. But it's hard when you're throwing to an area where he's supposed to be and you're under pressure as a quarterback. You expect him to be right where it is like you practice. And if he doesn't do what he does in practice and kind of goes lazy out there, it's going to cause interceptions and bad throws. I think DK Metcalf has always been a problem, Jack, with Seattle wanting to go and wanting to stay. And he's one of those Devo wide receivers. We'll see what happens. I mean, he's got to get on the same page with Geno if Seattle's going to have any chance of getting the playoffs this year. That's for sure. I like Atlanta here too. Tennessee plus 9.5 at Buffalo, guys. We haven't talked about this yet, and that's where Mason Rudolph will be starting. Buffalo at home, just got Amari Cooper. Guaranteed he's going to be the number one receiver there for Josh Allen. Good route runner, good receiver, not a Hall of Famer, but I think he's a very, very good wide receiver, and he's going to help out Buffalo a lot, Jack.
I don't think he's one of the elite receivers in the NFL. I just haven't felt that way about Amari. When he first came out of college, I thought he might be. He's a very good receiver, but let's not put him amongst the best. I mean, I could probably name 15 to 20 receivers I would pick over him if I had to, but that doesn't diminish Amari Cooper. Nevertheless, he's an upgrade. You combine him with Keon Coleman. And now Josh Allen has a couple of receivers he could throw to. James Cook is coming back this week to run the ball. And at Tennessee, Will Levis being sacked. I think this is a firm message. He's not their quarterback of the future. Tennessee's going to be in the market for a quarterback in the offseason. Unless Mason Rudolph can pull a Geno Smith, look really good the rest of the year. It's possible. Mason Rudolph, has he ever really, guys, been given a full opportunity to be a starting quarterback? He took over for Kenny Pickett last year at Pittsburgh and actually played well. And he wasn't bad in the playoffs either. Maybe Mason Rudolph is good enough to be a starter. I mean, I question that. But he's going to get the audition the rest of the year with Tennessee. And you talked about Mac maybe sitting Trevor Lawrence. Maybe there should be a lesson what Tennessee's doing, the effect they're doing now. Once you sit down your franchise quarterback the way Tennessee is with Will Levis, that sends a clear message you have a lack of faith in them. Okay? And I like Buffalo big in this game. But but if Mason Rudolph should shine by some chance, wow, it's his job then going forward.
What do you think, James?
I think Tennessee, they have opportunities. I mean, they've had opportunities. They just been careless with the ball under Will Levis. And you have a number one defense. You have a number one defense. That's really hard to get in this league, to have a defense like that good. Their defense is number one overall in the NFL. And you have a guy that's just careless with the ball. Mason Rudolph, all he has to do is just not turn the ball over. Take care of the ball. Take care of the ball. You have a good running back in the guy from Dallas. I forgot his name. I can't think of it. But he's a decent running back. Run the ball. Run the ball. They have two different decent runners. Run the ball. I mean, to see where you can go from there. But
Calvin Ridley is going to want the ball for Mason Rudolph to throw to him. I mean,
yes, I'm pretty sure he probably will be able to get it to him. Calvin Ridley's. We were speaking about route running tree. Calvin Ridley is one of the better ones. He's a better exceptional, and there's no reason why that guy shouldn't have the ball. I think a lot of it was just bad decision making, and he didn't really call his quarterback out, but he was just saying, he was trying to say it without saying it, that my quarterback is the problem here. The quarterback's the problem. He didn't say it. He was really political about it when they were asking him questions. But yeah, he's like, yes, I want to be able to help my team, but I mean, maybe I should have been an option earlier in the game than later. And so, yeah, but I think Buffalo having Jack, you mentioned that Amari Cooper is not an elite receiver. I agree with you, but he will be the bona fide number one there out of all the receivers we have there. So he'll get some touches, and I think he makes the offense better, and I think Buffalo wins big.
Well, Keon Coleman has the ability to be a number one, but he's had a case of the drops this year. He's dropped some balls he should have caught.
Keon Coleman is a slower version, a poor man's version of DK Metcalf. That's where he is.
There you go. There you go. And Shakir, we can't forget about Shakir over there too. Big play guy. Listen, Tennessee replaced Levis because Levis makes boneheaded decisions. Let's be honest, right? He likes to turn the ball over and do pick sixes and fumble the ball for touchdowns. You can't win like that. And Mason Rudolph is a little bit more mature than he is. I never thought Will Levis was going to be a great quarterback anyway. I really didn't. Picked him up in the second round. Kind of erratic in college. Big arm, but that don't mean nothing in football, right? You got to be accurate. Right now, he's not accurate as far as holding on to the ball. I don't even know what his stats are, to be honest with you. Maybe he's throwing over 50%. I don't know. But he keeps giving the ball up at the end of the game and losing the game, and he keeps saying, it's my fault. I'm going to change. But he hasn't changed. So it's time to sit him down. Let's see what Mason Rudolph can do. I don't think it's going to help Tennessee at all, especially today. Buffalo probably wins by at least 10 points today, maybe a couple touchdowns. We already talked about Cincinnati and Cleveland, Houston and Green Bay. Miami at the Colts. From what I understand, Richardson is playing. That was the last thing I read. Jonathan Taylor is out for this game again. So you're going to have Richardson, who is very inaccurate against a Miami team with no offense. Tua is supposed to be back next week, from what I understand. We'll get to that at the end. But Miami's getting 3 at the Colts. Jack, what do you like?
I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I like the Colts there, 17-14. If Tua were playing healthy in form, I would have gone with the Dolphins. This is one of those games where the quarterback truly is going to make the difference. You see Anthony Richardson is playing, okay? I'm not the biggest Joe Flacco fan. I know he was a good quarterback in his heyday with the Ravens. They won a Super Bowl. I appreciated him then. This version of Joe Flacco's experienced. He's a decent backup, but to make him your starter is basically like putting a Band-Aid on the situation for numbered games. But he does give the Colts the best chance of winning right now. But if Anthony Richardson is going to be a quarterback of the future, he's got to play. He's got to play at some point. And if it's not this year, when's it going to be? Is it going to be next year? And you're going to have the same situation. So you've got to play Anthony Richardson I understand that. And Anthony Richardson's either going to have to play himself out of being a franchise quarterback or validate that he is. But with that said, I think Joe Flacco does give them the best chance of winning at this moment. I like the low-scoring game, something like 17-14.
James, I got 2 words for you. Trey Lance. Anthony Richardson.
Well, no, I had a different version. I'm going to say he's a slight upgrade of Will Levis. I mean, he got a strong arm, and he's a little bit faster, but he's more injury prone, and his decision making is also questionable in regards to how he playing, meaning protecting himself. Like, learn to slide. Learn to slide. Stop beating yourself up like that, man. You're injury prone. You got to learn to slide. And also, he's got a strong arm. He's got a big arm. Sometimes you see those passes. He'll throw some beautiful throws 60 yards down the field. His air yards are incredible, but a lot of those throws are just boneheaded like decision. I'm like, what were you thinking on that play? And I think I'm going to go with the Dolphins. The Dolphins have a top 5 defense right now. And I think, like Jack said, it's a low-scoring game, but I just like them to win. I think they find a way to win this one. And they're running backs are in the game. I think A-Chain and Mostert are playing.
You know what it is? Mac is one of the situations, like Mac mentions with quarterbacks in the past, rookies carrying a clipboard. Anthony Richardson is no longer rookie, but he's one of the guys that would have benefited by just learning behind a veteran quarterback, being on the bench, sticking next to him. I'm a big believer you learn by playing, but in certain cases, like Anthony Richardson, all the potential in the world, such talent this guy has. The guy's got a great arm. He's a great runner with the ball. But he needs experience. He needs like 3 years, or so of a learning curve before he should really be playing. And you don't get that in the modern NFL. It's either put up or shut up, it seems, in your rookie year.
Jack, I'm going to tell you, I watched this guy at Florida when he played in the SEC. This is the same style of play that he played in Florida. I was very surprised when he was picked at 4. I think he got picked at 4 because of his combine. He showed
combines, Mac. I hate the combines.
But yeah, he played the same exact way that he's playing now at Florida that he's playing.
The Colts took him, Anthony Richardson, number 4 overall in the draft because they were scared, and they admitted it. If he turned out to be a superstar, they'd never forgive themselves because he had superstar potential, such off-the-charts athletic ability, and they were scared. That was a pick that they picked based on potential of what he could be, and they said they'd never forgive themselves. So they took him at number 4 overall, and we see the way it's turning out right now.
Let's be honest. He's injury prone. He couldn't even play running back. He gets hurt too much. I don't get what it is about him. I don't understand the Anthony Richardson saga here at all. I just don't get it. He's not a franchise quarterback, not even close.
Well, he's got to learn to slide.
I don't get it. Trey Lance is. That's what it reminds me of. A guy that can't play quarterback.
Trey Lance hasn't really played.
Go ahead, Jack.
Trey Lance hasn't really gotten a chance to play or really prove himself. But I agree. You were right about Trey Lance. Obviously, he's not impressing the coaches during practice. If he was, Trey Lance would have beaten out Cooper Rush as Dak Prescott's primary backup, and he didn't do it this year. It was there for him to do, and he didn't do it. So, you were right.
We got Philadelphia -3 at the Giants. Jack said he wanted to take them. I wanted to take them, but I don't like taking my team. I'd like the way the Giants defense plays. They got to score points, though. They can't just kick field goals and win games. They're averaging, guys, 15 points a game. You can't win football games scoring 15 points a game. I don't care how good your defense is. I liked what the Giants did to them last year. As I said last week, when they played Tampa Bay, the Eagles will get their butts handed to them. I think get their butts handed to them again. That's me being a homer. But anyway, I like the Giants here, -3 points. What do you think, Jack?
I might be kicking myself at the end of the day that I didn't take the Giants as one of my 3 teams to get them in, because I think the Giants are upsetting the Eagles today. I don't think this is the Philadelphia Eagles team that we think they are. I think they are a very average team. I mean, they struggled against the Cleveland Browns. They haven't been moving the ball. And like you said, the Giants have a pretty good defense. What makes us think they're going to move the ball? And I got to believe the Giants defense is going to be geared around Saquon Barkley. They're not going to let Saquon Barkley beat them if they can, avoid that, because they realize this is his homecoming game. They don't want the franchise to be embarrassed by Saquon Barkley running for 172 yards and the Eagles winning and the fans booing. So whatever they're going to do, they're going to try to key on Saquon Barkley, not let him have a big game. I mean, that could open up other possibilities, but Jalen Hurts has been so, as the Eagles have been. And I think the Giants are springing an upset. I could see the Giants winning by something like 22-16, that type of game today. So I'm going with the Giants to win the game outright on an upset.
James, the biggest surprise about the Giants this year is their defensive backfield. They stopped Seattle's 2 wide receivers, Lockett and DK Metcalf. They shut down Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Now, of course, they got Smith and they got Brown. I think these are same caliber of Cincinnati. Maybe Cincinnati's receivers might be even a little bit better. I don't know. It's close. So that's what the Giants would have to do. Lock them up one-on-one. And as Jack said, the only way the Eagles might be able to win this game is if Saquon does run for 182 yards and a couple touchdowns.
I agree with you in regards to the wide receiver, the secondary for the Giants. They're good. But this is a glaring number right here that I looked at. The Eagles have the number 6 overall rushing offense, and the Giants have the number 24 overall rushing defense. That's not a good number going into that field with a little bit of motivation and some revenge on the mind of Saquon Barkley. I think if they, with the RPO game of Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, they might be able to show some, like you said, 170 yards, 150 yards. If you can get that, they're going to come out with a win. Because I think they shut down. I think the Giants shut down A.J. Brown and they shut down Devontae Smith. It's going to have to be, but they're probably going to put some 8 in the box. Maybe it's going to be a give and take, and it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout on either side. But I am, because of that one factor, I have to lean with logic here and say I'm going to go with the Eagles in this game.
We talk on this show about coaches being on the hot seat, and what we should maybe do for fun is go down the list of every NFL team to see which coach is on the hot seat. But that's a media perception. The media creates that perception. A lot of times owners have no intention of replacing a coach, yet the media is going to report the coach's job is in jeopardy. But I'm going to tell you this. If the Eagles lose, no one's seat is going to be hotter, at least as far as media perception goes, than Nick Sirianni's. And maybe he'll even be let go. I mean, imagine that if they go to 3. I mean, if the Eagles lose this game to the Giants.
Sirianni is definitely on the hot seat. I agree with you. And in regards to the offensive coordinator, there's been some questionable decision-making this whole season between the coach and the coordinator. So I would think, yeah, it's possibly that they might both get booted out of town.
Yeah. These teams make moves with coordinators. They get a coordinator who wasn't successful with a couple of other teams, and they bring them on board. And what do they expect?
Well, we talked about the Giants defense, Eagles offense. The Giants offense will be getting Malik Neighbors back again this week. I think and of course their rookie running back. So the Giants are going to have some weapons. You can run the ball on the Eagles also. So we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a good game. The Raiders +7 at the Rams. I think Cooper Kupp is back this week, if I'm not mistaken. from what I read. So you got the Raiders. Look like they're falling apart, getting a touchdown, going in to play in the Rams. What do you guys think about this? I was tempted to take the Rams on this too.
If there's any one game I could pick that I, don't have to watch, shouldn't watch, this would be the game. Now, this is the least appealing game to me. I don't give a darn about it. I don't want to know from this game. Neither team is going anywhere. Respect to the Rams who won a Super Bowl not that long ago, so they have my respect. And the Raiders are dysfunctional there. And I was saying it in the off season when we'd hear, oh, Antonio Pierce, you've got to give him the job. What? Because he won an amazing 5-4. What did he do or whatever? Is the interim coach. Come on. They didn't make the playoffs, so he was better than Josh McDaniel. Ho hum, And look, and the Raiders are really dysfunctional. They don't have a quarterback, and I don't know whether Antonio Pierce has control of the team. I hear Max Crosby rumors have it once out. They moved on from Devontae Adams. The Rams have had a ton of injuries. But how motivated could the Rams be? I mean, unless they go on a big winning streak, they're not going to the playoffs. The game being in LA, there's not much of a fan base there. I mean, I'm going to go with the Raiders to eke out a win, over the Rams. The Rams are favored by 7, right?
Yes.
In that game. I'm going to go with the Raiders to maybe upset them, but who gives a darn?
Okay, James, listen, they still got a very good quarterback with the Rams. They got a good running back. Cooper Kupp is back. I think they're a lot more functional than the Raiders. So what are your thoughts?
I have to concur with Jack here. I looked at this game when I saw that, I was like, wow, I didn't want to take any notes. I just thought I'm just going to flip a coin and pick one. But I actually picked the Rams because I think they're a little bit better team, a better coaching. That's where you have to look at it. The coaching here. I mean, both are in shambles, but I think the Rams are a little bit more sound, and so I think they can win this at home.
No, it's very possible. I don't know. I don't care either. Rams. I'll take the Rams -7. Carolina +9 at Washington. Jack, for some reason, who has been giving Carolina a hard time, and Sonia all year about Carolina being the worst team. If they're not going to win, they're worse at playing than he is at picking and answering trivia questions. I mean, he's been blasting Sonia all year. Turns around and takes Carolina +9 and against Washington, thinking Washington's going to have a letdown. James, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to have a letdown. I think they're going to win the game, but I don't think they're going to win by 9. I think it might be a little closer than people think. But I think they bounced back. They played a great game against a really good team in Baltimore. I just think that Carolina, as gutsy as they are with all the issues that they have, they got a really good – Chuba Hubbard is having probably his finest year. He's in 3rd in rushing right now. And, I just don't see they can man up against this team. Washington as a whole is actually pretty decent. I don't know. Maybe they're going to fan out at some point at the end of the season or whatnot. But the quarterback is great. A lot of people expect it. I don't think there's an answer for that right now. And I think they win. I think Washington wins.
By the spread. Not by the spread. Not by the spread. It's funny how people say, the quarterback affects the offense. A good quarterback, a solid quarterback, let's put it that way, because Andy Dalton's I don't even know if he's good anymore. He's solid, right? He's a solid backup quarterback, a lot of experience. He changed the whole team's outlook since he's been there. They're playing like they've never played before. Their defense is playing hard. Their running game's going. The receivers are doing – they just look like different teams. But this is only 3 field goals, guys. I mean, we're talking 3 field goals that Washington's favored by. They can't beat Carolina by 10 points with that offense, with that quarterback and that magic they got over there. We're talking 3 field goals. I mean, Washington wins by 10, maybe 13 points. I mean, come on. I mean, we're talking about the Carolina Panthers here, Jack. This is what we're talking about.
I'm going to be kicking myself if the Panthers don't cover and the Giants, beat the Eagles, because the Giant game, I just feel the Giants upsetting the Eagles today. And so I'm going to feel bad bypassing the Giants in my picks. I mean, is Carolina really a disaster? I don't think they were like a disaster. They're just a bad team. But that bad team that I think is going to win 2-3 more games before the season's over. I don't think they're going to go winless. I think they'll win a couple of times. And is Washington really that good? I mean, James likes to use the word trap game, like when he used it saying it was a trap game for the Saints against the Eagles, for the Saints. But this could be a trap game for the Commanders. But are the Commanders that good? Will you actually have a trap game with anyone? They've gotten off to a great start. Jaden Daniels showed some promise. But really, the Commanders are still a work in progress themselves.
I would agree. I just think when you get a young team like this, look at Houston last year, right? And I think Washington is a little more impressive than Houston, believe it or not, because Houston had a pretty good team when their quarterback came in there. When Stroud came in there, the team was pretty good. They weren't great, but they were pretty good. Washington's rebuilding. This team's exciting. They got all these young.
Texas won good when they drafted Stroud. That's why they had the second worst record. That's why they drafted Stroud number 2 overall, because they had a bad team.
I'm saying when you watched Houston play, when I watched Houston play anyway, they were competitive. Their quarterback wasn't the best. Their defense wasn't the best. They were a competitive team. I forget what the record was. I'd have to look it up. But they were a competitive team. And when you talk about Washington, new coach, new owner, new GM, new everything. Houston didn't change owners. They didn't change. I mean, this is a total rebuild. I think there's an excitement in Washington right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to continue for a while. That's all I'm saying. So, Kansas City at San Francisco. I agreed with Jack here. I think San Francisco gets its back Cummins against Kansas City for last year. I just don't think Kansas City can keep winning like this. And this is a good team. San Francisco is not, the Raiders, or they're not the Chargers. This is a very good team. The only one they don't have back is McCaffrey, right? So I think me and Jack got San Fran winning this. What do you think about Kansas City and San Fran here, James?
I think when you look at the records here of both teams, one's 5-0, one's 3-3. They're both deceiving. One's better than the 3-3, record in the 49ers, and the Chiefs don't look like they're 5-0 the way they play, but they found ways to win. But it might come to a hit, as you say, when they meet going up in I think the biggest difference, they're going to the 49ers. It's a revenge game for the 49ers as well. And I think they're going to win the game, but it'll be close. It's going to be a defensive game for both sides. But the offense for the 49ers is starting to find a stride as well. And they're looking better. Purdy looked a little better. I know he had a rough game against the Cardinals, but he looked better the last game. And I think, not having McCaffrey is tough. But Jordan Mason has been a more than adequate replacement. He's not the same caliber player, but he's been sufficient. He's been good. He's up in the top 10 in rushing, I believe. And so I think, and as well, they have a really good defense as well. So it's going to be a tough game, but I think the 49ers eke out a win with this one.
Jack, I mean, there's one thing no team has really done with the Chiefs. Jump out by 2-3 touchdowns or 17 points and not be close at the end, right? If you're close at the end with the Chiefs, you're in trouble, right? So, I mean, I think if San Francisco has got to get a good lead and keep that lead, they can't come down in the fourth quarter being up by 3 or 6 points, because then Mahomes does his thing.
Yeah, you said it. That's the way people talk, and they shouldn't necessarily talk that way. Mahomes. We hear about Mahomes, Kelsey with the Chiefs. They're winning on defense.
Yeah.
Their defense is the best part of that team, led by Chris Jones and McDuffie. That's the best part. In all the Chiefs Super Bowl appearances, and there's been 4 in recent years in which they've won 3 out of 4, their defense has never been as good as it is now. And those guys are being overlooked. And if the offense can gel, they're a very dangerous team because their defensive unit is going to keep them in there every game. Okay? And I think that's the key, this weekend tonight for the Chiefs. Today winning the game, coming up with a big defensive effort.
Yeah, I agree. And of course, the last game we're going to talk about is the New York Jets versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Jets are given 1 point. Pittsburgh, that's nothing. Pittsburgh is getting a point. Listen, I don't know, and we'll talk about this a little bit more as we get here. I don't know what the hell Pittsburgh is doing. I mean, why are you making this change right now? You're 4-2. You're winning ball games. Russell Wilson is definitely not the athlete that Justin Fields is. That adds to the running game. Russell Wilson, I don't even know if he's just not what he was. He's an older guy. He's got experience, yes. He has been in Super Bowls, yes, years and years and years ago. I just don't understand why you would take a quarterback when you're 4-2 and sit him down and put somebody else in and maybe go 9-8 this year. I don't get it. So I'm still going to go with Pittsburgh just on their defense alone and their running game. But it's up in the air now. If Fields was there, I would think Pittsburgh would be very sound with that pick. Now I'm not so sure. What do you think there, James? Look at the jack after you.
I don't know, Mac. I'm going to have to disagree with you. I'm going to have to look at and see what they're seeing in practice. Maybe the playbook was a lot more condensed and watered down for Justin Fields. They probably could open up the playbook a little more with Russell Wilson with the experience. It's got to be something that you're seeing to make this type of decision. Maybe he's showing that he can do more, and the leadership is a lot better there. I mean, we'll see, but I have to think that I'm going to trust in Mike Tomlin's decision to say, well, I understand, this kid's held us afloat, but it wasn't just him, it was their run game and their defense that held him afloat, and he didn't really turn the ball over. I think that Russell Wilson may show that, hey, he still has the experience and he has a viable team. He can still show that he still has something left in the tank.
Well, Jeff,
the Mac, it's simple, Mac. What?
Let me ask you a question first. Is Michael Tomlin becoming overrated? I mean, he goes to
not at all. Not at all.
But he doesn't win a playoff game anymore. Since when? Ben Roethlisberger?
He's an outstanding coach. I would hire him if I was an owner.
Yeah, maybe, but for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, listen, you didn't win a playoff game since Roethlisberger. I mean, you're 9-8 or 8-1. All right, great. But that's every year now.
Yeah, but he's had a winning record. He's always had him, there in the mix. And listen, let me make it simple. Justin Fields was the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears for 3 years. 3 years. That's a big body of work for all the GMs in the NFL to study and to see what type of quarterback he was. And let me finish, Matt. 3 years. When they traded him, the most they could get the Bears was a 4th-round draft choice that'll become a number 3-round draft choice if he plays 51% of the snaps. That should tell you an awful lot that no one was offering a number. Let me finish, Mac. That no one was offering a number 1 draft choice for Justin Fields or number 2. That should tell you an awful lot. He comes to the Steelers this year. He's been okay. They've won with a great defense, but he's not a game changer type. And you said about Mike Tomlin, well, he hasn't taken the next step. Well, you're not going to, he apparently, and with some justification, feels maybe Justin Fields can get me only so far. but I have a little more upside to go further with Russell Wilson. That's why he's making the move. Now, I'm not saying I would have made it right now myself. They're 4-2. I'm not sure what I would have done myself. So I'm not saying it's a no-brainer. I see a point of view. But also don't get carried away with Justin Fields like he's this elite quarterback. Like, oh, how can you bench Justin Fields?
No, you first of all, as I was trying to tell you before you went on, because it would have saved about 10 minutes, it has nothing to do with what he did with the Chicago Bears. Different team, different situation, different players around him, different GM, different coach. That has nothing to do with it. That's like saying Sam Darnold shouldn't get a chance, should be sit right now if he loses 2 games because he was terrible with the Jets. That has nothing to do with anything, Jack. Justin Fields is a better athlete than Russell Wilson right now. I don't know what his numbers are as far as percentage passing goes, but I know Justin Fields gives right now the Pittsburgh Steelers the best chance to win. There is no doubt in my mind. Russell Wilson still has a problem with his leg. He can't run like he used to run. He's not as a great a passer as he was before. He throws down the sidelines. He doesn't throw over the middle of the field. I'm just telling you right now, it's a huge mistake. You pull somebody that is winning games for you right now. Now, if Justin Fields starts losing 3 or 4 games, good. If you had 500, fine. He hasn't. And the games that the Steelers lost, they haven't lost by a lot.
Their last 3. They've lost 2 of their last 3, I believe, haven't they?
But the score has been 35-38. You're going to blame Justin Fields for giving up 38 points. I don't get it. But that's okay. Listen, I'm telling you.
That wasn't the score. I don't have the score in front of me, but that wasn't the score. But they picked up close. Mac, but Mike Tomlin can rectify it. If Russell Wilson is struggling, he could go right back to Justin Fields at any time. It's not like he cut Justin Fields and got rid of him. They can go back to Justin Fields if maybe you're right, maybe you're correct. I can't say with full confidence that you're wrong in what you're saying. But they have the option, Mike Tomlin, of going back to Justin Fields any time that he wants.
And I agree with that. There's a good problem that they have. They have 2 quarterbacks on deck that both are starting quality.
Just like they do at Texas. 2 quarterbacks, you have none. There you go. So that's all I got to say. That's the way it is. You cannot pull and push quarterbacks in and out. You split the locker room, and it's happened hundreds of times, and it just happened yesterday in college football. So I mean, okay, that's all right. All right. So let's break down the news a little bit here. So Sean Payton returned to New Orleans. I mean, James, I don't like to keep going over this and that, but it was a big thing in New Orleans. They had the floods, they had everything that happened there. And Sean Payton was a big part of that. Drew Brees was a big part of getting New Orleans back on track again. There's a lot more than just a game there. It was sort of like a homecoming. The owner, you could see them hugging each other with Sean Payton. That was a big deal. A lot more than just a game.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was there before Sean Payton came there. I was born in New Orleans, 1975, believe it or not. I watched the Saints when they were the Aints, and I watched the paper bags. I didn't have one, but I definitely watched them. And, they had a little bit of a renaissance when, Jim Moore came. They had some good seasons there, but not like when Sean Payton came. When Sean Payton and Drew Brees came, it was a totally different 180. It was just night and day, especially coming off the heels of Katrina, the city with the flood, and the team had to travel during that year. It was just pretty bad. And they got Reggie Bush, number 2 overall pick. It was just great for the city. And they got a Super Bowl out of it. And to have someone like Sean Payton leave the team, and then, after Drew Brees retired a couple of years after he retired, it was a bit devastating. The fans were hurt. But you cannot not acknowledge how great the legacy is for both Drew Brees and Sean Payton and what they brought for the city. It's a great thing. And it was great to see them, come back and celebrate. It was just unfortunate that we got whipped to smithereens by that Austin defense. But again, there.
James, is the fan base upset with Sean Payton for leaving?
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's what gets me. If a team isn't successful, the fan base is going to immediately call for that coach to get fired. So if a coach is doing well, he should be able to leave anytime he wants. He shouldn't think, oh, I'm going to disappoint the fans, and the fans are disappointed he's leaving. As soon as he loses some games, they're going to try to push him out of town anyway.
But the thing was, he left when he got when the game was good. Drew Brees was gone. They weren't winning after that. When Drew Brees left, it went totally south, and that's when he left. And so it'd be different if he left on top. He didn't leave on top. He left when we were bad, and then he, sat out for a while and then went back to coaching. So he virtually wanted to get out of New Orleans. I don't know what the situation was. It just wasn't good. And, hey, it is what it is. But thank you, Sean Payton. I give credit to him and Drew Brees for at least giving us a Super Bowl. Yeah.
There's certain coaches.
Do you think, Jack, do you think that the New Orleans Saints underachieved with that team? They won one Super Bowl. Do you think that team could have won 2 or maybe 3?
I don't think they underachieved for the simple fact they won a Super Bowl. That legacy stays forever. And keep in mind, they would have gone to a second Super Bowl, but for horrendous non-interference call. I mean, there was interference, obviously, that would have ended the game against the Rams that wasn't called. One of the worst non-calls, in NFL history. Arguably the worst non-call in NFL history. I don't know if there's such a debate. Has anyone ever listed the worst non-calls in NFL history that should have been called, where there should have been a penalty flag? But I would think that's the worst because it deprived the Saints of going to the Super Bowl. And if they'd gone to the Super Bowl, they would have played New England. They would have got more than 3 points the way the Rams did, I'll tell you that. I don't know how the game would have turned out. If I had to say push came to shove, I would have thought the Patriots still would have found a way to win, but we'll never know.
I have to say, I agree that I agree with you that was one of the worst calls, but they did underachieve. 2011 had a bad defense, but they had the best offense, probably, before the Broncos came and took over their single season scoring season and then most yards. That was the best team the Saints ever had offensively, man. And they really underachieved. And they lost that division game in San Francisco with Vernon Davis scoring a touchdown. But man, they underachieved that year as well. So they probably could have won.
James, they beat the Buccaneers, I think, 4 times in a row. And then they play them in the playoffs with Tom Brady. The year the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl with Brady.
Yes.
After beating the Buccaneers twice in the regular season, they lose to them in the playoffs.
Yes.
Man, that had to hurt a lot.
Oh, it stung, man.
Rough.
It really stung.
What do you guys think about Tom Brady? He's approved to be minority owner. I think, he said he's coming in there to win too. Al, Davis is acting a little goofy, saying he'll train a new quarterback. I don't think he's not there to train his quarterback. But do you think the attitude changes for the Raiders by Brady being there? And before you answer that, New England just went up a touchdown, 6-0 so far. So what do you think is going to happen with Brady there? Does the whole attitude of the organization change?
Guys, I think it's a fiasco. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I mean, nothing against Tom Brady. Tom Brady's trying to better himself, make the best deals he can. Nothing against Tom Brady at all. But he's gonna be a 10% owner there of the Raiders. So obviously the Raiders have to be his favorite team now. He has to want the Raiders to win all their games. I mean, going forward. And I have no doubt he's gonna try to be as honest and forthright as he can be in the Fox broadcast booth. But what's he doing in that broadcast booth? I know he's getting paid $37.5 million a year, 10-year deal, $375 million. But Fox is also going to use him to schmooze the sponsors. They're using him in various capacities. And because he's Tom Brady, they feel he could have a ton of value to them outside of the broadcast booth. I get all that. But I don't see how that's allowed. I mean, I just don't see it. You're a 10% owner of one team, but you're broadcasting games with rivals and this and that. Think of the criticism Troy Aikman comes under all the time. If he's calling a Cowboy game, oh, he's partial, he's this, he's that. I think Troy Aikman does a good job. I think he acts impartial, but Troy Aikman wants the Cowboys to win. You know that. But he's enough of a professional to be impartial, as is Ron Darling, too, isn't calling the Met playoff games. He was, Ron Darling is calling the Yankee playoff games. Darling should really be calling the Met playoff games because he's an expert on the Mets. He's their full-time broadcast analyst. And he would give us more insight, into them. And I think he could be impartial. But Major League Baseball is so sensitive, they won't let him call those games. Now, imagine the Patriot fans. What are they going to think of Brady? Should he call a Patriot game? They're not going to allow him to call a Raider game. I just don't have a good feel about this.
Well, James, the NFL.
I'm sorry I went on too long about it.
The NFL owners approved it. The commissioner approved it. I mean, I know there are certain rules, certain things he can't do because even when he was going up to be an owner, he couldn't do it. So definitely he won't be able to do it now, which means go around different facilities. Maybe he sees something, he tells. I don't know. That sounds kind of foolish to me. But I'm with Jack here. I don't. Why even bother going to get a minority owner as a Raider when you're gonna make $370 million and put your job in some kind of jeopardy? It seems like I'm trying to remember the term here for it, but it's like something that's pulling both ways. It doesn't make sense to me. Conflict of interest.
It could be a conflict of interest, but and maybe eventually he steps down from this position and goes more into ownership. But my question is totally different from anything you guys have asked. Is why the Raiders? Why not the Patriots? I mean, this is Bob Kraft's guy. Maybe you guys know more than me. Why wouldn't he have partaken in part ownership in the Patriots?
I'm not giving a guy 10% of my company at a low price. I mean, I don't blame Robert Kraft. I mean, it's just, yeah. Mark Davis, the Raider owner, now he's saying he wants Brady to find his quarterback of the future. Now, that would be a good move by Mark Davis, because Brady is as knowledgeable as they come about quarterbacks. Even though that doesn't always work out, I would have said the same thing about John Elway. And look at how he's whipped on one college quarterback after the other. But he did convince Peyton Manning to come to Denver, in all fairness. But so Brady's now going to be studying all this college tape to get to one quarterback. And how does that make Aiden O'Connell and Gordon Minshew and the rest of the Raiders feel the rest of the year? Oh, Brady's going to find our quarterback like you guys on your way out the door. How does that make him feel with all these games left the rest of the season?
I mean, at this juncture, it probably doesn't matter. I mean, this is where they are. Yeah.
And not only that,
you don't make that statement publicly now if you're the owner. If there are 2 games left in the season, I can understand that. But the season still has a ways to go. And that's Mark Davis basically throwing in the towel with the Raiders. Why did I pick them to beat the Rams today? Now that I'm thinking of it, I should have reanalyzed.
How much time does Tom Brady have to review all these tapes and call games and talk to people, and then he's going to review quarterbacks during the college? I don't know. It seems like a crazy thing. Jerry Jones says he will not be active at the trade deadline, will not be making any changes at head coach or at coordinators. He's not changing nothing, folks. He's sticking to his guns. What do you think about that?
I think Jerry Jones gets picked on too much. Look, Woody Johnson moved on from Robert Saleh. No one was getting on Woody Johnson before he made that move. Everyone's on Woody Johnson's case now. And they're making him out he's a meddler, what a terrible owner he is. And why isn't Jerry Jones praised for not having getting rid of coaches quickly, for sticking with coaches a while? He has a history of basically sticking with coaches. So so if he doesn't fire Mike McCarthy, people are going to get on him. Imagine Jerry Jones fired Mike McCarthy. Everyone would get on Jerry Jones, saying it's not McCarthy's fault, it's Jones's fault. The whole thing would blow up. Let him sit tight. He wants to keep his coach. Leave him the heck alone. And what you guys tell me, what moves could Jerry Jones have made that he didn't make? And I know it's easy to say, well, he could have gotten running backs, he couldn't have gotten this, he could have gotten that. But you got to name players. It's easy to say, like a politician, oh, we got to improve the economy. Well, how are you going to improve it? Let me hear the plan. Of course, you got to improve the darn economy. I don't want to hear that.
He could have got Derrick Henry. He was available and Derrick Henry was interested in going to the Cowboys. They needed a running back. He didn't do that. Yeah. And I think what they're talking about is not so much the coach, because Jerry Jones is very faithful to his coaching staff. He's been that way since he's been there, really, except for with coaches he can't control. But your defense is hurting right now. Your offense, you don't have another number 2 receiver right now. Your defense, the pass rushers and defensive line is hurting. There's no reason why you can't go out there and make a couple trades and try to improve it. At least try to improve it. And this is where, and he goes out and he talks constantly, as you know, after the game, after practice. He's always in the media, so he brings a lot on himself. But there's a couple of things he could make that he could do to try to improve the team, and he's saying he's not going to do that. And this is why people hold him his feet to the fire.
Guys, but would you agree sometimes the best moves are just from within? Troy Aikman called out the Cowboy receivers this week. He said he was disgusted with the receivers. He says they're putting Dak Prescott in a bad spot. When they know the ball's not intended to be thrown to them, they're showing no enthusiasm in running their routes. It's a giveaway, okay? Troy Aikman was basically saying. That comes down to coaching too. The attitude has got to change right now. They're 3-3. They're average right at this moment. They're still obviously in contention, but it's got to happen from within.
But who outside of CeeDee Lamb? Who do they have? I mean, who are these guys? I know Brandon Cook is still hurt, right, because of his knee, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's really, you're calling out.
When CeeDee Lamb knows the ball isn't being thrown to him, he's not acting like a decoy.
Gotcha. Okay. So he's calling out CeeDee Lamb specifically.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb primarily. Yeah. And good for Troy Aikman,
I remember James Jeffcoat and Byron Williams would talk about CeeDee Lamb that he's not the best route runner. And they don't use him in motion enough. I know that there was some criticism about him before. Maybe he's fallen off again because the Cowboys aren't doing good. Maybe he's not motivated. Maybe all that money makes him less motivated. I don't know. I know that the Dallas Cowboys have some big holes on defense. We already knew that. They have big holes at the running game. And right now, it seems like all they got is CeeDee Lamb, who got all this money, and all of a sudden he's not playing like he played last year. And it seems like every player – I shouldn't say every player, but it seems like most players, once they get that big contract, they relax. And it looks to me like CeeDee Lamb is just relaxing right now.
I don't think it's a question of the money, Mac, once they get the money. I don't think that's it. I think they're prima donnas in this sense. They want the ball. They feel they're open. They're not getting the ball. They get upset with the quarterback, and they say, okay, if you're not going to throw the ball to me, then who cares anymore? And if the ball's getting thrown to them and they can be the big star receiver, then they go all out. That's what I think it's a case of with some of them. Frustration sets in. Not many keep grinding and keep trying. Like Garrett Wilson with the Jets, things weren't going his way for a while, but he didn't give up. He still was grinding and all. But certain of these other receivers, like DK Metcalf, you mentioned, James, he might be a bit disgusted, so he might be shutting down to an extent.
Look, I'm going to say this about CeeDee Lamb. If you're making that kind of money, you need to go all out, play all out, regardless of your record, regardless of what your situation is. You're getting paid to be a professional. like Troy Aikman said, I agree with you. I'm glad he called him out. Play the game like you're supposed to play the game. But with that said, we got to go back to Jerry Jones not making any moves in the offseason with their running game. They definitely need a running game. They do not have it. They have the oldest running back field in the league. And not getting Derrick Henry was a mistake, and letting the running back go to Tennessee was a mistake as well.
Can I ask you guys this? I thought at the end of last season, Derrick Henry was a little long in the tooth. I didn't think he would be as good as he's been with the Ravens. Did you think he was going to be this good? That he was going to be his old self? I didn't think so. I thought he'd lost a step.
No, I thought it was a great move when Baltimore picked him up because of the style of run offense that they do. It's a lot different. It's going to give him the ball more. And like Max said earlier in the season, you got to give this guy more touches. The way he runs, is the way it leans on you later in the games. And this guy can get 10, 15 at 51 yards. Like in that Cincinnati game, he got a 51-yard pop in overtime. Yeah, he's still a great running back, man. Yeah, I thought he was going to be good still, even at 30, because he takes care of himself in the offseason.
Jack, I wasn't really sure because some people age better than others, and some, especially ones that pick bruisers, take a beating too. They don't just give a beating, they take a beating. I thought it was a great position for him to be in with Lamar Jackson, who also can run the ball, and then all of a sudden, who's got the ball? And again, it's saving Lamar Jackson a lot of hits this year, but he's still a threat. You got to respect him, right? So if he hands the ball off to his big running back there, if he gets King Henry the ball, you still got to play him too. I mean, he may take off with the ball too, and I've seen him do it a few times. I think it was a great move by Baltimore. It really opened up their offense, their passing offense too. Baltimore did a great job with that. Folks, thanks for tuning in to the Big Football Show here every Sunday, 8 a.m. or 4 p.m. on Roku channel. Be sure to download that Roku channel. Just channel search it on your Roku TV. You'll get it. Thanks to Keith. Thanks to Pax for popping in, even though it was very quick and it really didn't help the show at all. But thank you anyway for coming in. Happy birthday to you, Pags. Thanks to Jack and James. As always, have a great one. We'll be back tonight, NFL Download. Tomorrow, the Mac and Jack Sports Show, where we'll get more into our Yankees and hopefully our Mets too. Win again here in New York. Have a great one, folks. We'll see you soon.